consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification right next to it. Thank you!
That is right. It is time for some quests. The Trinity Daily Quest, where all of your quests begin. And who better to start your questing adventure than from your Trinity Game Masters? I don't have much this week. I try to find some entertaining thing to talk about, but mostly it's going to be World of Warcraft, which is our deal we'll have about. But for all of you who've watched me in the past on Tuesdays, ever since probably like 2013, I've been playing Champions Online. Yes, it was supposed to be like another version or better version of City of Heroes. It's not. Everybody who plays City of Heroes is not like it. So, anyways, it kind of went into maintenance mode for a long time. But Cryptic is actually doing something. So here's the quote from the story. We're taking a look at some of the beloved content from Champions Online's history that may have fallen in disrepair over the years. After the update of Terrakiel's Temple, Idalion was a big target, as we new players loved it and couldn't complete it in its current state. Therefore, we've gone through and made an update to the battle with bug fixes and slight changes to the mechanics. Wow, it's about time. Now, if my friend, not Fred, will get a better internet connection, we will be playing Champions Online again on Tuesday nights. But until he does get it better, his connection is so bad. He'll update it. It'll take hours to update. He said, I'll get in the game. I'm like, he's using a hotspot with his phone, okay? So he's all loaded up. It's a game. He goes into an alert. And once he's about to jump out, he's frozen. He can't go anywhere. He gets disconnected.
How's he look when he's frozen again?
Go watch the VOD. All right. That was my daily quest today. So, Jazil, what do you have to teach us?
So this week, I was kind of everything was up in the air regarding the show and what they were going to do it, and we settled on this Tuesdays, and then I, for whatever reason, I thought that they meant next week. So please forgive me for the lack of news this week. However, there are a couple of things. They're going to be World of Warcraft related. Being that that's kind of my main thing right now. Although, as I've said before, I still dabble in Elder Scrolls Online as well on the side. World of Warcraft doesn't mind, apparently. So, in Classic, for those of you who are still playing it, the 500 of you or so, Naxxramas attunements can now be completed, or, well, it started is how I was supposed to say that, but it can be completed as well by talking to Archmage Angela De Santos in Lights Hope Chapel. And it looks like I thought that was a typo, because normally they open up on a Tuesday, and this is going to be a Thursday, but December 3rd, unless I looked at my calendar wrong, it's telling me that's Thursday, which is odd. But anyway, that's when it's going to be open. For those of you who are in retail and never got to experience attunements, those are a long quest line to basically get a key that you can use to go into the dungeon. That's the way it used to be back in the day for us old fogies who played during Vanilla and Wrath and TBC before that. You used to have to attune yourself to that dungeon, or not dungeon, excuse me, raid, to be able to go into it. And there was this long process. Normally you would be doing dungeons and quest lines and things, and getting help from guildmates to do so. You don't do that anymore in retail, but it's still available, obviously, in Classic, and that opened up, so you can get started on that. As I said, if you are still playing Classic, or maybe you want to go back and see what this attunement thing's all about. You will need a guild. You will need help on parts of it, so hopefully you've got that established, or you get lucky. The next little bit is today we had a little 3 gigabyte. It was a little bit over 3 gigabytes, I think. Download, and we also have this is for World of Warcraft retail. We have week 2 of our pre-patch content that's called Death's Rising. case you were wondering. And it does have a. I completed all of it within like, I don't know. It seemed like 15 minutes. As far as the quest line went, it might have been 30 minutes, but it didn't feel that long. And went right back to doing my rotation of killing rares to get the accommodations and everything so that I can get my transmog gear, as well as kind of get some nice gear for my alt characters to start out Shadowlands with. So that's been an interesting experience. It's kind of an all-day thing, honestly, because the rares, since we didn't really get to it last week, they spawn 20 minutes apart, and there's 20 of them. So you add that up, it's about half of your awake hours that you are going around with a group of people and killing these guys to get hopefully loot. It seems like some people have pretty good luck and they get some drops, and there's other people that I have traveled with several days in a row, and they've got like one or two pieces. It's I don't know what's going on there, but I've been pretty fortunate. I've been getting about 5 to 6 pieces every day, and then whatever I don't get, I go and purchase off of the vendor with my accommodations. You got to turn in different tokens for those accommodations, which is just a kind of a weird process that I don't think should be there, but. Anyway, the rest of the little news bits that I had are just like little tiny things that were just like YouTube videos for Ashes of Creation. Had some little had an interview that was posted on YouTube that was kind of interesting if you want to look that up. And I believe Solomon's going to be covering. It looked like he had posted something about Guild Wars 2 down there. So that was the other thing that I had, but I'll let him speak on that. So
No, actually talk about it. I was just going to talk about the sale.
Well, just the sale.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I thought you were going to talk about the other stuff.
Oh, expand. Yeah, you could talk about. No, you're good. You're good. You talk about it.
Okay. Well, Path of Fire, if you're interested in it, that is the previous expansion. That's the current live one. That is on sale for, I believe it's half price right now.
Yep.
If I can adjust my old man glasses here. Yes, that's what it says. It's half off, which it's already cheap to begin with. So that was a pretty good expansion. It had a lot of good content. I had a lot of fun playing through it. And I would recommend picking it up if you're at all even just a little bit interested there. Again, Guild Wars 2 is a game that you can get into absolutely free and no monthly subscription even available if you have any curiosity whatsoever. Again, it is an older game, but it's a beautiful game and it runs great. And as I've said in the past, it is pretty neat seeing all the new content being released for it, especially being that not even a year ago they were saying it was going into maintenance mode and that was going to be it. It was pretty much nail in the coffin time, and now they're talking we're going to have an expansion. They're finishing up the Icebrood saga. All kinds of really neat things going on right now. They even have some pretty cool stuff going on for the holidays coming up for everybody, and it's been pretty fun. Again, that's another game that I tinker with. I go back in there every once in a while. Probably, I'd say every 2 or 3 months I go in and I play for a day, and then go back to WoW or ESO. But yeah, like I can definitely recommend that at half off. I mean, why would you pass that up if you're at all
Yeah,
interested?
I saw Soda Crafter posted a Twitter post about, playing Guild Wars 2, like, oh, hey, wow, Guild Wars 2 back again. You're mentioning about all those rares. So Godfuzz showed me the fact that I needed to get into those little raid groups and travel around and getting stuff. And you're right. I gave my guy leveled up gear wise, and the drops come when they come sometimes, and then buying those tokens, those Argent Crusade tokens, and then getting the rest of this stuff. So hopefully, I'm going to play some WoW tomorrow, Wednesday night is WoW community night with the GMA crew. So WoW Wednesday. So anybody wants to be out there playing some WoW, we'll be doing that tomorrow night as a community thing. I'm not sure how we're going to do a community thing directly, but so we're going to make sure we're posting it and advertising it. So, all right. Thank you, Sir Jaziel. Solomon, it is time now for your spotlight, your close-up for the daily quest.
Let's see. Speaking of Guild Wars 2, I remember you tried getting into it, Dad, and then that made me want to play it. If you remember, It was like last year, and I just couldn't get into it. Like, I want to like it, but for whatever reason, I can't get into it. It makes me sad. 'Cause Guild Wars 1 raised me, kind of, sort of.
Different game though. That's different.
It is, but it's just like, it's the same company, the same team, more or less, I guess you could say. The lore, Gwen, and pre-searing and stuff like that, and just seeing her and not her in part 2, but like I think her lineage or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a long time. But anyways, Sir Jaziel said Guild Wars 2 is definitely on Steam. So if you want like all the game, including like all the expansions, I think that minimum is like $30 or $35, which isn't that bad. But if you just want the expansion, I think it comes out to like $15.
Right.
If you already have the game. So I'm adding this. I'm a sucker for crossovers. I love it when you have two different IPs coming together to make something interesting and different. We all know that Final Fantasy does that a lot, especially with the Nier Automata series. And now we have something going on with Phantasy Star Online 2, and they're doing a crossover event with Guilty Gear. And if you don't know what Guilty Gear is, it's a fighting game very similar to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. But in my opinion, it's one of the most beautiful looking fighting games in the market right now. I love the anime look. I love the fluid, just fighting animations, and just the lore too is pretty interesting as well. It's very flashy, very, very, very flashy. Very polished as well. The only other game, in my opinion, that might come remotely close to its sort of artistic beauty, if I could use that term, would be BlazBlue. BlazBlue also has very flashy characters as well, and just very beautiful fighting animations. And anyways, if you're a fan of both, you are in luck, because they are doing a crossover event where you get a lot of skins based on the Guilty Gear characters and lore within the Phantasy Star Online 2 game, which is pretty cool. Almost makes me want to play it. But almost. There's just too many MMOs out there for me to play right now. But if I was gonna get into it, I think now would be a really good time, just because I'm I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of Guilty Gear, but I'm a fan enough to where I definitely appreciate it and get excited about the new installments that they do release from time to time, every so often. And the next story I wanted to do, and this is the last one. Sorry, I don't have that much either. Things have been really busy. I know in my previous video I said that I'm back, and I'm back more or less. It's going to be less video, but I'm still trying to crank out as many videos as I can with my graveyard shifts and work. But anyways, Grand Saga is another game that I'm very closely following. I think with the success of Genshin Impact, makes Grand Saga a little bit more interesting, because before we had games that are cross-platform from mobile to computer and being able to play between those two. And the first game, in my opinion, that I've really tried to play that, let me reword that. The first game that I've played that tried to do that was V4 or Victory 4, but in my opinion, it felt more like a mobile game, and the PC port was an afterthought, in my opinion. So still a good game, still a very beautiful looking game, probably the best looking game on the mobile platform right now, in my opinion, and that goes for every single game out there, with the exception of maybe Black Desert Mobile. I mean, they're very close in terms of its graphical quality. But Genshin Impact came out, like I said earlier, that ended up being a huge success. And so I therefore think that a lot more companies are going to try to follow that model instead of strictly just sticking with PC or strictly with sticking with mobile. I think Genshin Impact is signaling to a lot of companies, hey, we gotta make a game where it supports both, and I welcome it because, and this is something that we talked about in the podcast about, what makes an MMO, what defines an MMO, what's the definition of MMO, and we've expressed, or at least I've expressed the opinion that I find it very disappointing that a lot of these companies are moving to the mobile platform instead of making it to the PC, but if that's the market, if that's the way the market goes, that's the way the market goes. I'm not going to demand that the market or the industry conform to my ideas and my wants and stuff like that. So I think this is a good compromise, and Grand Saga is one of those games that is cross-platform from mobile to PC as well. And the big announcement is that they're in talks with Kakao Games as the publisher, and Kakao Games is one of the biggest or bigger gaming companies in South Korea right now. Black Desert Online being probably the most known one that they've done. So it'll be interesting what kind of game they turn out with. I hope it's very successful as well. I hope it's even better than Genshin Impact, in my opinion. I hope the bar keeps on raising, so that we also get to enjoy PC games, but also for them not having to abandon their mobile audiences at the same time. And let's call it let's call it for what it is. It's a huge cash grab. So if they're able to make profit and keep us happy, then hey, it's a win-win situation for me. So that's it for me.
Absolutely. I mean, we want the companies to make money. We don't like giving up our money, but then again, giving up our money gives us a good game. And so there's a trade-off there. It's a market economy type thing. You got something, I got something, let's trade. Okay. So yeah. Thank you so much for this. Now let's get on to our story. Or sorry, I changed it because Lurker pointed out to me, he called it MSQ, main story quest. We'll get to our main story quest. All right, today our main storyline quest is about minigames. I was listening to the podcast from Massively OP with Bree and Justin, and I think one of their letters came in was about minigames, and it was one of the discussions I thought would be kind of cool for us. For those who don't know, I mean, there are minigames that are in games all the time. I mean, one of the biggest ones that people know about more recently is Gwent, that was in the game Witcher. They actually turned it into its own game. I haven't played it, but there are a lot of indie games in MMOs. Okay, now some of them are storyline. They're story quests. They're flat out just part of. There's this little games that give a little adventure. Just because it's hard to move on the quest. There are others that are like side quests. They're like being it's not side quest, but a side game that like almost like unrelated. Why are you doing this? I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I was in my little town. And the guy said, "Hey, come on by, play this game with me." And so I played the game with the person. I lost the first one. I won the second one. I'm like, okay, it's kind of interesting, but I can probably win this again. I got charisma for it. So, anyways, mini games in MMOs. Okay, is it a good idea, bad idea, or is it based around if it's like a forwarding the story type of thing? I don't know. Solomon, what about you? Mini games in MMOs. Have you played them? What do you think of them? And I don't know, good or bad or ugly.
What do you think, Dad?
I will get to my opinion when we get to these. I generally do between the. I put my opinion in between the crossover between you guys.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just want to make sure you get your fair share too. So, to be honest with you, within MMOs, I can't think of any. I don't. I can think of mini games within other non-MMOs, like within Fallout 4, you could collect those holo discs that had those 8-bit type of games, if you remember that. Do you remember that? You remember that, right?
Yeah. I also remember in Fallout 76 type stuff, but I remember in yeah, that's one. You're right. That's what I was thinking of too. You're right. Where it has little mini games, like totally unrelated, it seemed like, but it's like, oh yeah, but you're in the world of Earth, so why wouldn't there be a place that had these little games people played to while their time away?
Right.
I remember see the thing is with the regards to the conversation I think Bree and Justin were having, there are some games, I can't remember what they were. That's the problem I have, is that they literally were just like thrown in because somebody had an intern, go make a game and we'll put it in here. It had nothing to do with the quest, nothing to do with the adventure, nothing with the story, nothing. Just they threw it in there, okay? And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I mean, I was thinking that's not a big deal, I guess. It all depends, right? But I was thinking if the mini game is like just a little side adventure type thing, like part of the you want to do this, and it's a different thing. I mean, come on, you've been playing MMOs for like 20 years now. You get to the point where you see the same thing over and over again. You have a little of a different adventure. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. All right, I guess we'll toss it over to Sir Jazio. What do you think about all this stuff?
Well, I remember way back in EverQuest, there really weren't any mini games in it, but we created our own. We would have casino nights in our guild where we would do like random rolls and whatnot to bet on different things, and we would like play roulette and all kinds of stuff in the game itself, using the game mechanics to some degree. Sometimes there'd be like an app or something on a website that we'd use outside of it, but most of the time it was with whatever we had available in the game. We would make our own mini games, and because it was a guild thing, and there towards the end before WoW came along, and I deserted my first love for it. We would give away like prizes and stuff. And it was kind of neat. Well, by the time World of Warcraft came around, they had little mini kind of games built into the game itself. Some of them were part of quests, and others were not. And I really enjoyed them. I'm a fan of them being implemented in the game either way. And if it is something for a new engineer or someone that's just getting their feet wet and just got hired on, and they just want to test out and see how good he or she is, and if they can put something together fun to put into the game, then that's okay. I'm sure that happens. I've heard stories. But I know in Guild Wars 2, there's games, and I'm not sure if you would really call the jumping puzzles mini games, but they kind of are, aren't they, in a way. That the more formal jumping puzzles, where you have to find your way up a steep mountain or across a tornado kind of event. It's really crazy stuff and really difficult, but awesome prizes if you get to the top or get to the end of it. I love those, and they even have, not just for you personally in Guild Wars 2, I'm talking, but also guild events, little mini games within for your guild to participate in. And they have races and all kinds of different, not just jumping puzzles, but races and card games and all kinds of stuff in there. I love it. I think there are things that give you a break from the monotony, where as MMO players, and being creatures of habit, us humans are, we tend to kind of put ourselves in ruts, like I'm doing right now with trying to level one of every class up to max level before Shadowlands comes out. That's all I've been doing for like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And on both factions, by the way. This just tells you why I'm getting gray right here, if you can tell. It's happening. So little things like that just give you an opportunity to go do something else. The Dark Moon Fair is an example that comes the first week of every month for World of Warcraft. A lot of people think, oh, that's just silly. There's no reason to go there other than to get that buff. There's an experience reputation buff that you can get from it, as well as if you're just starting an alt and you want to have a nice, easier way to get 5 points or so put into fishing and all your professions. There's like little questies that you can do. And it's just fun. Like I said, it's a break from the norm, from going out and killing 20 elks or going out and doing your normal grind. It just gives you something different to do. And Elder Scrolls Online has several mini games in it as well that are pretty fun, honestly, both for single players and for players and bless you, and for guilds. Sorry, your sneeze kind of
Yeah.
my brain
What I was
just
gonna
went.
say is that you brought a very good point up, and it's the fact that the monotony of the game gets broken up with a mini game. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Moon Fair you mentioned is a good example.
the
And
Dark
that's so
Moon
and
Fair.
that
Yeah.
and I hadn't thought about that. The fact that, yeah, some mini games are related to the game itself, like, okay, they're very relevant, whether it's Fallout, or not. And there are games that are irrelevant, where it's like, why are you doing this if you decided to put it in here? But the biggest thing you mentioned was the breaking up the monotony of the game. It gives
Mhm.
someone else something else. You don't have to do it. I
Right.
mean, I don't go to the Moon Fair very often at all. I've always bothered. I never bothered over the years. Like, who cares,
Well,
But
it does tie the Dark Moon Fair. To be fair, see what I did there? Oh, I rhymed.
Oh my
See what I did there?
goodness.
Oh, that's horrible. Dad jokes. Anyway,
I'm so tired.
if you're into it, does tie into the game. Because if you're into transmogs, if you're into collecting pets, you can get pets there as well. If you want, mounts, there's more than a couple actually. I think there's 4 mounts that you can get from there. So there are things you can just go there to break up the monotony and just to have fun and just chill and relax. But if you are a person that likes to 100% and to you got to collect every pet, every transmog, every mount, and you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs like that, not a sponsor, then that is a reason to do it. But you can also just go there just to relax and have fun and not, maybe you're tired of the grind of trying to get that one piece of gear that you've been trying to get from that raid for the last month, and you're just like, you know what, tonight I just don't want to do that. I'm gonna turn on my Spotify and listen to some music and just go to Dark Moon Fair,
No, that's good. That's well said. Okay.
One
All right,
thing.
that was
Sorry.
our
One more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Absolutely.
props to Stannis, a viewer in my channel right now. I guess my not problem, but my thing was defining the name minigame, because he brought up a really good point. When I was thinking of the term minigame, I was literally thinking of mini games within the game, and I think fairs, as Sir Jalzeel was pointing out, is a really good example. But also he said like fishing in WoW, and then I thought fishing in BDO. Like technically that is a mini, so if you're fishing in Black Desert Online, for example, you have to press a space bar because there's like this little gauge that you have to get it right on the spot, kind of like a carnival game or something like that. And so I'm thinking, yeah, technically I guess that's a mini game too, technically, but that's not the first thing I thought of, and so it
That's
kind
a
of made me
good
wonder.
point.
Yeah. So
I hadn't thought of that either.
I'm thinking, well, I think that's more of a gathering mechanic more so than a mini game, but I think
It is, but interesting.
yeah, the lines are blurred enough where it could be both. But
True.
I'm thinking, you know what? I don't think anyone's really gonna rush out to buy not an isolated, but like a just WoW fishing or just BDO fishing game. I don't think that's a very fun mini game.
Maybe
So
if it was on here, they would.
maybe,
Well,
but even then,
Video fishing is not a mini game, right? You just turn it
Yeah.
on and walk away.
no, you could,
It does
but
nothing.
you could actually like stand there and watch your character fish and play the mini game within it. And there's also like
Oh, okay.
an up down left right puzzle solving thing that you have to do, like you have to match within a given period of time, and if you don't press the right buttons within like 10 seconds, then you fail the fish and it gets away.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh.
So there is that. This is not just AFK fishing, although you can do that too as well. So yeah, I think it's an interesting
that's well
point
said.
that he brought up, and
It
I
is.
think it's something that was worth mentioning. So yeah, I guess it's something that we
It
could
was.
probably talk about later on if we really want to get into it. What's the definition of a mini game or something? I don't know.
Yeah, because
Well, that's a
because
good
I
question.
am starting. Oh, sorry, Ken. Hold on. There were a lot of in Legion. If you remember, there were a lot of dailies that were mini games where, there was the line game where you had to uncross all the lines by clicking on each point and you could only do one at a time. and I had a lot of fun watching people on Twitch and on YouTube Gaming take literally an hour to figure out just one of those puzzles. Whenever I for whatever reason, I just by luck or whatever, I was actually really good at it. But yeah, so I'm all for him. I'm all for him. Go ahead, kid.
Well, I was just thinking, right, that's a good question, but definitely mini games. Mini games, I think, are just things inside the game that are not relevant. I'm thinking was it? I think it was Nox Ramus or whatever it was that where you had to do the dance. That's one place where you had to go move around because if you got cut, the squares would move, change. Or I forget. There's also one where you had to be the playing chess match. There's someone who was the king and queen, all the different like those to me are not mini games. They are adventure quests or things you do in the game. To me, the mini game is a side thing you do on your own. Fishing,
Oh, right,
that's an idea. Dark Moon Fair, or any other thing, like even like what Solomon mentioned about Fallout 4, where those tapes are. You can play a game. Fallout 76 had the same thing where you can play these games. You're like, I'm not gonna play Space Invaders. What care this stuff for, right? I'm like, this is so stupid. But hey,
I played them.
again,
I thought it was fun.
that game I did in Valhalla was interesting, but also could see that I beat the guy second time around. I'm like, okay, I think I can win this game over and over. Maybe not. Maybe it does scale up. I'm not sure. Okay, but yeah, that was pretty good. Good discussion. All right, let's move to the next thing we have on our plate. That's right. It's the escort quest, where we try to get you the adventure of a lifetime and experience, and try not to kill you. Because if we get ourselves distracted, we may not see the mob come behind you. Okay, so I don't know. Sorry, yeah. All right, this is a topic, a thing that was put on by Solomon a couple weeks ago. We're going to be dealing with this. Mind you, Chris, he also knows this is a hot topic button for me. Okay, so here we go. Do graphics really matter? Because, as he also points out in the question, and why is old school RuneScape so popular? Now, for those who don't know me, or who do know me, I'm like, hey, I lived and grew up gaming in the 8-bit era. I do not need to go back to the 8-bit graphics era, okay? So to me, graphics do really matter. Yes, gameplay and story also matter too. A really bad a bad visual game can be fun and still hold my interest. A really good visually game that has bad mechanics will not hold myself. Old school RuneScape is awful, in my opinion. I downloaded it, started playing it. I'm going, this is so bad. I do not need to suffer myself and go back. Okay, there is a God in heaven. He did not torture me with trying to go back to old school RuneScape. Solomon, this was your question. I'm curious to know what you think about this.
Oh man. Man. So I'm not gonna say either yes or or no. I think it's a little bit of both, and here's why. When it comes to strictly, let's just say MMOs, I think it's a obvious no, because what game is still king right now? It's World of Warcraft, and they're still using an engine that's probably older than a lot of the viewers who are watching this right now, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't look visually unappealing. You're right, it has an older engine, but it has been they have updated their models since the beginning. That's why you go to Classic versus Retail, you can see they've updated their models.
But compare that to the modern games, like for example Valhalla that just came out, it's just night and day, okay, that probably wasn't a fair comparison, because I did strictly said only MMOs. But at the same time, again, as you brought up earlier, RuneScape is one of the most popular MMOs of all time right now, second only to World of Warcraft, and that is probably the most 90s graphics game that you'll ever see in your life right now that is still being played. Now, obviously they have people saying that graphics never mattered, and I don't entirely agree with that. It's all about gameplay and story, and I believe that's true to a certain extent, because no matter how beautiful your game looks, if it has crummy story that you don't care any about the characters, and the gameplay really sucks because it's not working right, or it's just too whatever, then yeah, no one's gonna play your game. And I think a lot of Korean games out there, especially Korean MMOs, suffer from that. They go for the big flashy stuff, and with neglecting the other things that really make the game important. So, but at the same time, I'm still on board with what Ken said. Like, I tried playing old school RuneScape, and again, the same viewer that mentioned about the minigame earlier, his favorite, I guess, online or MMO of all time is a game called, hang on, give me a sec. And actually, Serge Azil, you actually may have heard this game before. It's on GOG. It's called, what did I say? Oh, it's an EFS, not an MMO. I'm sorry, but even still, this game came out in back in '97.
What's EFS stand for?
Hang on, real quick. What's it called? I'm trying to find the. If you could type in the name again, Stannis, I do appreciate that. I'm trying to scroll back. Oh, Emperor of the Fading Sun. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he still plays that game till this day. And again, if it's a game that came back out in '97, obviously it's not going to have the graphical quality as current games. So so I know this is a cop out answer, but I'm on a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, I lean more towards graphics than anything else, because as technology gets better, as graphic cards gets a lot faster, as evident with the craze of the new 1300 series from Nvidia, and now we got 4K gaming, and then after that we might get 6K and then 8K. If the trend was solely just based on narrative and storyline, I don't think that a lot of these companies will be pushing the graphical envelope, if you will. So I think it's a little bit of both that you need. It's definitely a really good balance that needs to be achieved in order for a game to really be considered a good game. So yeah. I unfortunately I can't think of a game where it's like, oh, the game had really crappy graphics, but it had really good storyline and really good gameplay. Like, I'm pretty sure they're out there, but I can't really think of a game that really fits that description. But you definitely hear a lot of people say it had crappy gameplay and storyline, but it had really good graphics. Like, I again point to any Korean MMO out there. So
Right. Well, I mean, I remember John Lasseter, who used to be at Pixar. He said they'll forgive you if you make a mistake in your animation if you have a good story. So story comes first. Pixar was always story comes first. But obviously, if they had bad animation, it wouldn't have lasted as long. They had really good animation and they had a good story too.
exactly.
If you had two games were of equal, value, equal worth of mechanics and lore and whatnot, and one had better graphics, I go there. I don't know of one, like you said, that is like bad copy graphics, but it does very well story wise. That's maybe old school RuneScape. I know that Star Wars: The Old Republic. Well, I love Star Wars. The Old Republic's graphics just have a problem. I have a problem with it. Its animation it doesn't really entice me. I like the game, like playing the game, but it's just like, no. ESO, Elder Scrolls Online it's really cool. I just remember running around going, oh my gosh, look at the environment here. Same with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Final Fantasy 14 has beautiful graphics, okay? It's more of the animation type thing that I'm not as much of a liking of it, but it's beautiful. So for me, graphics do matter. Even like you said, there are those cases where a good game can have crappy graphics and still entice you. So Jazio, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna probably at some point sound like a hypocrite. But I will start off by saying, do graphics matter? They do matter, but that doesn't necessarily, for me, mean they have to be photorealistic graphics. What I mean by that is, let's take, again, there's been a lot of World of Warcraft hopefully we have some World of Warcraft fans watching today because we've
Yeah.
covered a lot of World of Warcraft stuff. And I'm going to bring it up again right now. There are a lot of people, and have been in the past, who I've tried to get to play the game. And besides the fact that there is a monthly subscription, which usually is the first thing that turns people off, and the second thing being they feel like I just don't have time for an MMO. That seems to be number two,
Mm-hmm.
because they've got children and they've got work and they've got real life, and fortunately for me, I don't have much of it. No, I'm not going to go that way. But I have a little bit more time. My kids are growing a little bit older. They can make their own sandwiches for lunch and stuff at this point, and maybe make me one while they're doing that. So, I'm pretty lucky that way. Now, the thing is with World of Warcraft is, yeah, it's not as cool looking as, like Kenneth just mentioned, Elder Scrolls Online, or even Black Desert, or a lot of the more, I wouldn't even call those photorealistic, but they're definitely got some more pixels going on there. They're a lot prettier to look at. And again, Solomon's actually absolutely correct, because I've played Blade and Soul back in the day, and a lot of those other Asian, especially the Korean games, and a couple of Japanese ones that have come out over the years, that they're just beautiful. The gameplay is something else. But the thing with World of Warcraft, as well as Guild Wars 2, and some of those games, I even go back to, rest in peace, my favorite WildStar. I yeah, they're not photorealistic, but they have style. They have atmosphere. They give you that feeling of when you're playing that game, that it couldn't be another game. When you see someone else playing that game, you know what it is. It's part of its identity. World of Warcraft took its inspiration, obviously, from the RTS games, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. And they took that and made it into a 3D world, and they improved on it. They made it look a little bit better, because if they would have just taken that, it would have ended up looking like RuneScape, which maybe
Right.
that would have made it even more popular. I don't know.
Fair point.
Alternate universe stuff there.
Right.
So I am fine with it. I think it's okay, and I enjoy those graphics. I am like Ken. He's 9 years older than me, but I remember my dad bringing home that little box with the wheel that you would turn, and that's all you had. That was your controller. It was just a wheel that went back and forth to play a game called Pong. Look it up.
I think we
2
all-
lines and a ball. And it's not even a ball. It's a little tiny square that goes back and forth.
Yeah, that's all it was. Oh my goodness.
I remember that was a big deal. And then I remember a couple of years later, I part of me thinks it was ColecoVision was the first one he brought home, but like the next year we got the Atari 2600, and I thought, wow, the graphics on this. And then in 1985 we got the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I thought, holy cow, look at these graphics. You look at them now and you go, like Ken was talking about, right? And then Super Nintendo. And then I said, forget Nintendo. There's this PlayStation thing that Sony's putting out now. And I went to that. And then Xbox. Anyway, graphics kept getting better and better. And that was like the selling point, and the reason why I wanted to go and get the 360, and why I wanted to go get the Xbox One. And now I'm looking at the new Xbox coming out, as well as the PS5. But I can't afford both. So probably go Xbox. But hopefully we don't lose viewers over that. Sorry. But I love graphics, and I do love stuff that looks smooth and 4K, and I'm a nerd. I'm a tech nerd. I'm really into that stuff. And the whole voxel thing that happened a couple of years ago with being able to have destructible everything was just the coolest idea that I had seen ever. And now we've moved on, and all the ray tracing stuff is super neat, and I just love it. Uh, but I'm playing a game that's 16 years old. It's my favorite, and I'm okay with it. Now, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite now when I say this, but I've also been watching those videos. They've been putting them out for a couple of years. There's a couple of guys. There's a guy in Russia. There's an American guy, and I can't remember the other one. I can't remember where he's from. But there's like 3 different guys that have put up World of Warcraft done with the Unreal Engine 4.
Oh yeah, I saw those videos. Those are pretty amazing. What the
Oh
game could look like in the
my
Unreal
goodness.
Engine.
They look
The Grand.
amazing. Yes. Okay, so you saw it too. Amazing. And if Blizzard came out and said, "Guess what? We're doing World of Warcraft 2 with Unreal Engine." I know I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite. I would be right there.
Well, you know what's interesting is I think one of the reasons why I think World of Warcraft has survived 16 years, with its own old engine. They have refreshed the models. It does look different, at least the models, not the landscape. Is because I think they did it cartoony enough to not be as real that as the years went by, it didn't look like it was getting that old. When I played Classic last year, I was shocked. I'm like, oh, this is Classic, 16 years old. And of course, when I didn't jump into retail, I go, oh, there's a difference. Okay, yeah, I can see the difference now. But I was like, that's still held up. 16 years later, it held up because if it was more realistic, it'd be a lot different. It'd be like, no, you're really behind. As for me, like when you mentioned all those different console systems, I remember the one commercial I saw it more recently. It was like a bass fisherman one. It's so real. You could smell the water. And I'm
I
like,
remember that.
are you serious? And mind you, back then it was like every leap up was like, whoa, look at these graphics. And you're like, you look back going, seriously, we thought it was good, yes, but not real. It's still pixel art type stuff. And one thing I think also at least for me, reason why I'm so hesitant about playing old 8-bit games is because of the fact that I lived through it. I'm like you mentioned, evolved from where they started off to what today is. For people who are younger, the millennials or the Zoomers. Well, wait, there's a millennial here. Anyways, is the fact that they didn't live. Well, somewhat millennials probably did. They don't have that. Their baseline is up here. So when they go retro, they're like, oh, retro. For them, it's exciting to go retro. For us, it's like, I put childish things away and I grew up.
Well,
That's why.
I don't know if you guys were ever into like racing games and whatnot, like the Need for Speed games and all that.
Not a lot.
Uh,
Mario Kart's
but
the best one.
that's another thing that was on YouTube that I'd caught. I don't know. It's been a couple months back, and it was showing the difference in the graphics from the very first one all the way to the latest one that was put out. And I remember playing through some of those, thinking that looks so real. And now I looked at that video and I went, "Ooh, that was terrible." So yeah. I guess you're right, man. I guess they do matter.
Well, and it's also I think based around also someone's personal flavor. So I joke around. I'm not going to go back. I have played 8-bit games, and I get it and I understand it. And there are some games that have graphics that are older, but they did a pretty good job of taking the older graphics and making it look decent, even though they're old, and the gameplay's fine. So yeah.
Mhm.
So do graphics really matter? Kind of back to what we talked about before. All other things, it depends. And as for old school RuneScape, no, I'm not playing it.
I'm
Yeah,
not.
to answer that, I have no idea, guys. I
I think it's classic, and people are still there, and they keep keeping it updated. But then again, why is it more popular than Target to Camelot, or even EverQuest, or even the other older ones that still exist? I don't know.
It's got to be sunk cost fallacy. It has to
Yeah.
be.
All right, we have escorted you to safety. I hopefully, that's of course you guys decided to got tired of our conversation and moved off somewhere, and you fell off the cliff, and we didn't know it. Sorry about that. There you go. We do have an upcoming world event. That is right. November 23rd at 2 p.m. The Trinity Bros will be going live with a pre-show at 2 p.m. Pacific time, because at 3 p.m. Pacific time, Shadowlands opens up. Yes, it is. We'll be there. We're going to do a pre-show, talk about the game beforehand, talk about the covenants, talk about maybe which pathway we want to take, what we're going to do. We get there and some of the storyline, and then, wait for the countdown, hit the button, and go into Shadowlands. So join us at 2 p.m. Pacific time for the pre-show, 3 p.m. for the actual game itself. So that is coming up next Monday. That's right, 6 days away, November 23rd. And guess what? It is also Thanksgiving week, so you can have time to play that game. And
you're
Valhalla.
right.
Wait, and Iron Harvest. And Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh my.
All right, I may not be just focused on WoW during that week, so we'll see, okay? But yeah. All right. Our quests are done. The dungeons are looted. The crafting dailies are completed. The loot has been distributed. It's time to go AFK. All right, where can you find you, Solomon?
You can find me at Hello Killy Online, and no, you find me at Coffee and RPGs. I'm so tired. I'm so sorry, guys.
Right.
Today was an odd day. We usually normally stream on Saturdays, but we had to do this on Tuesday because like I said before, I'm a security guard. My hours are definitely changing, but there will be some stability, hopefully, more than likely, and so we'll go back to our normally scheduled times, starting this week or next week. You want to do 2 shows? You don't want to do another show this week, do you?
We could do Saturday before ahead. We'll see.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah. So possibly another show this Saturday, but yeah, we will be going back to our regular scheduled program on Saturdays. I do apologize for that. Again, I'm still trying to get used to adjust my schedule and all that stuff accordingly. So I do appreciate your patience. But yeah, Coffee and RPGs on YouTube.
This gives our community opportunity to see us on different nights. Okay.
Sure. Fair enough.
All right, Sir Jaziel, where can we find you at?
Well, at Sir Jaziel, I would say Twitter and Twitch. However, for all of you lovely people, I think I'm going to go hang out in Parlor for a while instead of Twitter. I'm just kind of I'm getting burned out on all the craziness and having both political and religious things blocked and whatnot. And I live in a country that has freedom of speech, and I just don't think it's right. So I'll be over on Parlor if you want to go catch me over there, as well as Discord. I have not been streaming, but I do plan to start streaming again here over the holidays. So and get back in a normal routine, hopefully. Just been having some health issues as well as some technical stuff going on here that I needed to fix first, and that's all looking good. So that's where you can find me.
Everyone out there, go ahead, pray for Sir Jaziel and his health. You'll find me, Canthan, here, Canthan, also Canthan Live on Twitter, and I'm also transitioning to Parlor too. I'm gonna have 2 accounts in Parlor. Okay, I like to keep my 2 things separate, my gaming versus my other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna be there too. So Twitter, Canthan Live. You can find us here again for some more shows and stuff. And yeah, don't forget, Monday, November 23rd, the Shadowlands pre-launch. Pre-launch. Shadowlands launch. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so there. All right, we are done. It's time to go fishing. Are you fishing over there?
No, I'm actually playing another episode of our podcast from last week.
Okay, there you go. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being here. And God bless you guys. And take care of yourself. And we'll see you next time on the Trinity MMO Show.